Thank you for your introduction. In this comment, I'd like to consider a relatively minor problem in linguistic fieldwork in Indonesia, that is the process of transcribing languages in the course of survey. I will compare the process of transcribing sign languages with the methods utilized in the case of spoken languages that I'm working on. I'm really afraid that I have no expertise on sign languages or transcription system of sign languages, but I'm going to try to talk about the topic of language transcription, taking broader viewpoints of linguistic analysis, language vitalization, and language learning. All right. This is the map of Indonesia. Borneo Island and Bali Island. Katakolok is used in Bali, and Kadori, that I'm continuing to describe, is spoken in Borneo. Here. I started to study Kadori in 2004. My approach to this language is mainly descriptive. That is, it consists in writing its grammar, dictionary, and text collection. Okay, transcription in the fieldwork. Roughly speaking, we will go through two stages in recording a little-known language. At the first stage, we will need glossing and translation or audio or video recorded data. And secondly, we will need transcription and descriptive analysis of these data. Transcription. Here I show transcriptions for each pronunciation of a spoken language. Asu, tiru. Okay. Sometimes transcription of the data can be done in the first stage, depending on the researcher's needs. On my first visit to the village of Kadori speakers in 2004, I assigned phonetic symbols to linguistic units of Kadori language. The reason why I used a pen and paper to transcribe Kadori words and phrases in 2004 was not only that I wanted to check variation of pronunciation right there for the future descriptive works, but also that, unfortunately, the capacity of audio recording at that time was very limited. Now we can bring to the field more compact recorders than before, more powerful batteries, and digital gigabyte memory cards. In the course of fieldwork, we no longer need to write down a newly known word on a piece of paper. Instead, what we need to do will be to properly use a recorder and to postpone the effort of writing for more efficient fieldwork. However, if so, will language transcription be of no effect in the course of fieldwork? My answer to this question is that language transcribing may be useful on a number of levels for both field workers and language users. Okay, transcribing a spoken language in Indonesia. In Indonesia, literacy rate is relatively high. According to United Nations Development Program, the adult literacy rate in Indonesia is now 92%. Even in a small village right next to a forest in Borneo, you can easily find alphabet literate Dayak people, that is inland people. So, partially because of this high literacy rate in Indonesia, linguistic field workers and language users may feel that writing a target language has a beneficial effect for understanding its linguistic system and structures. And for example, in Kadori, R and L sounds are distinctive in all environments. So ragu means worried, while lagu, song. This is one of minimal pairs between R and L. When I wrote down words having L sound, one of my consultants, seeing my notes, said, "You must write the sound like this, R plus L." This is because the pronunciation of L in Kadori is completely different from that in Indonesian or Ngaju language. I remember being impressed with his clear understanding of Kadori sounds and with his cleverness in explaining the detail of the sound. Phonetically, L in Kadori is not lateral approximant, but alveolar flap that is similar to R, alveolar trill, R. This RL spelling made me feel more confident when I described the L sound in Kadori. And here is another example, but I'll skip this. And outside Indonesia, in 1933, an American linguist, Edward Sapir, implicitly pointed out in his article, The Psychological Reality of Phonemes, that the language transcribing may lead to finding diachronic reconstructed forms or synchronic morphonemic alternations. Sapir taught a Southern Paiwood speaker, Tony, how to write his language phonetically. Even after Tony has mastered phonetic transcription to a certain degree, he did not write a precise phonetic form, pawa, whose meaning is at the water, but wrote down the reconstructed forms pa, water, plus postposition pa, at. This led Sapir to perceive how Southern Paiwood speakers treat phonemes of their mother tongue. Okay, for sign language transcription. Regarding language transcribing, one of clear problems is that signs are usually not written down since people can just watch the signs directly. Thus, in documenting a sign language, researchers will focus on the first stage of recording that I mentioned earlier, that is, video recording of signs, glossing each sign, and translating sequences of signs. As you know, there is not a commonly used transcription system for sign languages in comparison with international phonetic alphabet used used in spoken languages. Alphabet for spoken languages. To devise a notation system for sign languages provide to be far more demanding than we had imagined. We will need to transcribe where eyebrows, mouth, head, and/or a certain hand shape moves from, where they move to, how they move, and how long they continue to move, and so on. Anyway, a number of transcription systems have been developed by sign language researchers. Here, some of them are listed. Stokoe system, or a system for writing Spanish sign language, Slipper system, Hamnosis system. However, it can be difficult for both field workers and sign language users to use one of them for effectively transcribing a sign language. Main problems are summarized as follows, according to Jason Hopkins, 2008. Most systems were never intended to be used as a means of daily communication, but as a research tool for highly trained linguists. Thus, most systems are not suitable to meet the needs of daily writing, and lack of well-documented handwriting standards. And Hopkins, 2008, argues that a transcription system, sign writing, which was initially invented in 1974 by Valerie Sutton, presents itself as a viable option in order to meet the needs of daily writing, and has a handwriting course on the official sign writing web page. Moreover, sign writing is the only sign language writing system that has been officially adopted by a national government, being so chosen in Denmark. It has also been chosen for use in the 2-volume Brazilian Sign Language Dictionary published by the University of São Paulo in 2001. Schools in several countries are currently using sign writing on a daily basis. Although Hopkins believes sign writing is the best writing system to use for daily communication at this time, the other systems can be also useful and beneficial in linguistic fieldwork. There will be no consensus concerning the choice of the best transcription system for sign languages, but what matters is to make sign language users aware that it is possible to write their language, because a sign language use also involves process of encoding and decoding, as is the case with the spoken languages. Okay, language vitalization and language learning. In the study of revitalization of minority, usually spoken languages, it is often said that having a written form of a language can lead to its positive perception, and the lack of written form can lead to the negative one. For example, a language does not merit writing. This is partially because community members may so strongly associate literacy with the language of wider communication that they perceive the local language to be completely unsuited for reading and writing. Also in Indonesia, most minority language speakers perceive their languages to be unsuited for writing. However, after the death of my best consultant of Kadori language, I gave his family a typed and printed booklet that compiles his voice in his language. The family members left behind seemed to read and hear his real voice. And they seemed to feel that writing in one's mother tongue is the only and most appropriate way to record the voice of a deceased person on paper. And they seem, the deaf community members may also perceive their sign language to be unsuited for reading and writing. Thus, having a chance to transcribe a sign language in one's fieldwork may change the negative perception into more positive one. In other words, it may elevate the perception of the sign language. Moreover, sign language writing can raise the awareness of community identity or pride. Hopkins 2008 pointed out that there are groups of deaf who have taken the time to learn and use sign writing not as a primary means of communication, but as a way of accurately recording sign language in a system that preserves a record of much of the language. Several of the individuals who use sign writing see it as a mark of distinction, something they can use and understand that is different from the writing systems of spoken languages. And Lucinda O'Grady Batch, who established the Deaf Action Committee for Sign Writing in the United States, has written using the sign writing system that writing in American Sign Language is beneficial to English learning. A deaf perspective, like this. I am writing to tell you how strongly I feel about sign writing and how much it can benefit deaf people. I was born deaf to a deaf family, and I am a native ASL user. ASL is a language in its own right, yet until the development of sign writing, it was a language without a written form. When I found out about sign writing, I was thrilled to think that at last we would have a way to write our language. I feel that we can use sign writing in order to learn English. Deaf people will benefit greatly from books explaining English grammar and idioms in written ASL. It is often important and helpful at a certain stage to learn second language through one's first language. Thus, to write in one's first language is more or less beneficial to learn a language of wider communication. Furthermore, needless to say, writing one's first language can also facilitate learning the language itself. Oh, conclusion, sorry. Conclusion. In this comment, I considered the process of transcribing sign languages in the course of fieldwork. The transcription of a language may help to understand its linguistic structures. Of course, in documenting a sign language, priority must be given to video recording. However, it is important to consider that sign language transcription may be effective in linguistic analysis, language vitalization, and language learning. Thank you.